Hello and welcome to the Stream of Chaos. My name is Dave and I'll be your keeper of arcane lore for this session of Call of Cthulhu. Today we're continuing chapter 3 of A Time to Harvest. You can get your own copy of this tremendous campaign. I should think of a word with alliteration for that. From chaosium.com. All of the previous episodes are available on the Chaosium YouTube, and if you want to join us live, we do stream each Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific. We are approaching a time zone change, so that will be altering in the next couple weeks. I'm aware of it. I'm seeing it coming. I'm not pleased though. Thank you to Roll20 and Sirenscape for being great tools which we use to improve our games. And without further ado, let's jump into the session. So last week we began chapter 3 and 3 of you all got a bit of downtime where you could rest. You spoke with Jason Trent and you agreed to go in and meet with the team at Federated Oil and Chemical. They recruited you, effectively. They wanted you to join an upcoming mission back to Vermont. And then you were set up in rooms here where you were kind of told, you know, you can't really leave, but you do have the run of the facility. And you can spend this time recovering and researching as you please. Since then, it's been a few days and you've been told that you're not really going to get the whole mission's not really going to begin until you're better, and they're also not going to tell you the full information until you're in a bit more healthy. So you've kind of had a chance to just, sleep a lot, pace restlessly, or throw yourself into mythos tomes, kind of up to you guys. So what I want to know is, what have each of you been doing as you introduce each of your characters, and what's this sort of fairly corporate, uncomfortable space that you've made for yourselves look like? How have you dressed it up to be a little bit more like home? Do you want to begin? Got it perfectly.
Yeah, let's do that. Hi, I'm Art, and I am playing Sebastian McCarthy, who is recovering from being electrocuted. Still. Twice, I should say. Electrocuted twice. Just quietly. Fuck you, Dave. No, Seb is dressed well, as he always is. He has been spending most of his time in his allotted sleeping quarters, perusing the books that the group had acquired from the Orn Library, the restricted section specifically, and Seb is of a mind to take no prisoners, which is very lucky for Trent, given that we don't have him anymore.
Yeah.
That is Seb.
That is terrifying. Okay, awesome. All right, Jackson, do you want to introduce Chaz?
Hey, I'm Jackson. I'm playing Chaz Dedrick. He wants to know if there's a gym?
Yeah, definitely. There's one of those office gyms. It's on a lower floor. It's got some fairly basic equipment inside it, and they have opened this up. They did interviews the previous day, and people are now joining. So there's a couple of other low-level office employees in there as well, using it as they get off their bikes coming into work.
Great. So yeah, Chaz is a bit of a beefcake, and he's found himself ready to rededicate himself to his physical education after being, trapped in that apartment with these weirdos for so long. He is happy to have a little bit more space, but he's gonna, keep that nervous energy of just wanting to lift and get swole. These are if they're out here fighting monsters and stuff, they're gonna need professional kind of equipment and it's combat training. Is there a dojo in here?
Not presently, but are you putting in a request for one?
I'm going to demand one. Okay. Yeah. You're telling me you're going out here fighting monsters and whatnot, and you don't even know how to fight them? We got to get, martial art. We got to get boxers in here. You got to teach yourselves how to defend yourselves. I've seen what's out there. It ain't pretty.
Hell yeah.
I know what we're up against.
All right. Chaz is pushing for training and pushing for monster killing. Fantastic.
I'm getting super strong. Check yourself before you wreck yourself vibe from Chaz right now.
Hell yeah. Lastly, James, you want to introduce Katie?
Absolutely, yes. I am Jim. I am playing Katie Wilkes, the bookworm formerly of the Miskatonic University, who has managed to clutch a scholarship and a return trip from the jaws of expulsion. But for now, we don't have time for that. In the corporate environment, which I think Katie quite likes. It's very clean, it's very neat, it's very relaxed. She fits in well. I think that I'm also preparing. I'm focusing, training. I'm probably not doing the same kind of physical training that Chaz is. My apologies.
Bless
That
you.
mute discipline was perfect.
That was good. You did it well.
No. I think I'm getting myself familiar with equipment. So I've probably gotten a hold of like whatever a standard like first aid kit that Oil and Chemical would send on expeditions are. I familiarize myself with all of the content. I'm looking at equipment. I'm understanding what we need to bring. I'm probably starting to look, if we have vague information on Vermont, I'm probably starting to look up details of Vermont. I've got like a list of important phone numbers. Like in my head, if we need to call in like the police or whatever. I've even just started to plan out hotels. I'm doing the full kind of logistics mission prep.
It's awesome, and we'll definitely focus in on that because you guys have been given a bit of insight into what the mission will be. It's returning to Vermont, looking for the, Migo presence in the surrounding hills and in town. But you haven't been given the exact details. Selena Preston, the woman that is basically your point of contact now that Michael Abelard has returned to either his penthouse or abroad, you really don't know at any given moment, she will have told you that the most important thing right now is for all of you to rest, to get better, and then we can focus on the details. If you pay attention to them now, if you strain yourselves, you're only going to delay this mission further. We have experts here, and they will, they're making sure everything's being seen to. That said, your insight is going to be critical. When the time comes, we will share the mission with you and we will look to get your advice. Now that said, she says this to you like day one when she's showing you to your rooms, and if over the next few days you kind of push the matter, you go, no, we want to be more involved, and there's absolutely a place for that. Very briefly, you do meet other members of the team as days pass. You'll meet Professor David Drake, who is a historian, has some occult information, and is also a psychologist, psychoanalyst. He is a bearded fellow, very neatly trimmed and always dressed in a rather thick black suit, and he will sit down with each of you and will have conducted analysis of your recent experiences. He will talk through problems and kind of get a feel for your mental state.
Analyze this. Is how Chaz's session opens.
Yeah. He tries to downplay it. He does seem very well trained. And one of the points that he pushes on is a person that you traveled with and worked with for a while who has since gone missing, Joe, and how you feel about basically, is it being abandoned? Do you know anything more? It's kind of pushing if there's anything more there. So it's Professor David Drake. There's also Dr. Sarah Matheson, the rather sort of slightly shrill woman, who is in charge of the scientific analysis. She has quite a lot of insight into the Migo and the alien presence, and is doing research down in the basement. There is Captain Sam Morrison, who is ex-military, who is going to be in charge of the mission when you are on the ground. And alongside him is a man called Larry Neckler, who is like a mechanic, engineer. He's in charge of sourcing and maintaining equipment and running the radios and things like that. And then finally, there's Leon Pascal and Michael Abelard, who you met previously, the lawyer and the man in charge, neither of which are seen, really. They kind of have other pursuits to be going to. So, Sarah Matheson will ask you about the Migo. Professor Drake will ask you about your previous experiences. But what do the three of you want to get up to? Chaz, you mentioned you want to do some training, get some practice in, some combat stuff.
And of those NPCs, he is immediately going to start hero worshipping the Cap, as he calls him. Yep. Because he wants to show off. He wants to show out what he's made of. So he's going to petition the Cap to get a dojo in here and, show him what he's made of.
Awesome. So I think you begin off, as I said, this is a Federated oil and chemical. is not exactly a shell corporation. Like, it does have a very successful business, and they do recruit people. So the gym you find on day 2, as you're still going through recovery, has a bunch of like sweaty businessmen coming in on their bikes. It's day 1 in a new office, so they're committed to it this year. They're going to ride their bike into work every day. So they all come in, leave their bikes on the racks, hit the showers, and there's a couple of like 1920s ellipticals that they get going on. It's really basic and not exactly what you want. What do you look like in this space amongst all these like business folk?
Taking it far too seriously and going far too hard. It's like they're just here so they can like get their heart rate up, get the blood flowing between the hours of sitting at the desk.
Yeah.
Whereas Chaz is like sees it all as a competition, and he's winning.
He like mounts up on one of those freestanding bikes next to a office worker, and you're just wicking along on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I like the idea of like one of those old-timey jingles playing, and it's like an ad for a gym as it pans across all these happy people smiling, and it cuts across to Chad just repping out deadlifts and screaming at the top of his lungs. And, come on!
Hell yeah. So you focus on exercise, and at one point you will meet with Captain Morrison. He will come through and see you, and he's a like great physique as well. And he will, after you sort of mentioned that, you know, some more military or more like combat focused training is important, he'll say, all right, look, you're not doing anything much up here. You're just going to throw yourself around and more likely to, you know, get someone else hurt than actually train yourself. Why don't you follow me? We were going to hold on to this until you were more recovered, but if you're going to be doing it, you might as well be doing it properly. He will take you to one of the elevators, which goes down to the basement. It is a cold area with a bunch of like globes recently fitted, so it's all very new and cleaned and polished. You'll walk past large glass doors on the other side of which you can see scientists working, but then it goes around corners and you can't see too much detail. And then he shows you to another direction where they have a like firing range style where you can like put the little the posters up and they fly along, and then you can fire at them to practice with weapons. And there is also some more like specialized training equipment, and this is where he and the rest of the team are practicing. From his perspective, you're already a part of the team, so you might as well start training with them and learning what you're going to need to do. And down here they go through their other practice. Is this more your speed?
That practice being just shooting?
Yeah, they're mainly, it would definitely be like firearms principally, but there'd also probably be some, probably not like martial arts dojo style.
Like,
I don't really
like
know.
Boxing, right?
Yeah, that seems appropriate.
Fisticuffs.
Boxing ring would be cool. And then some like more like practical. I guess actually a dojo does make sense, right? It's practicing like hand to hand in emergency things. I think that kind of tracks. Yeah, there'd be things like that. It's a small team, and if you're willing to train with Captain Morrison, he'd definitely be willing to teach you a thing or two. That said, I've checked his stats. Your fighting brawl is higher.
Nice. I'm going to teach him a few things.
Yeah. Is it like a bit of, you know, street rough and tumble meets military training?
Absolutely. Best of both worlds. We're going to combine our forces and be unstoppable.
Awesome. Fantastic. The other thing
Building
he'll...
Avengers down here.
As you show him a thing or two about, you know, street scrapping, he'll ask you, do you know how to use a gun, a firearm?
Yeah, you point and pull the trigger.
There's a bit more to it than that, but you've got the basics, sure. Have you shot one of these before?
Well, no.
No. Well, come with
But,
me.
I mean, not recently. Maybe when I was a kid, but, you know, remember it being pretty easy.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, you haven't shot at one of these things while it's flying at you, have you?
First time for everything.
Look, stand here. Widen your stance, just like the little kick thing on the inside of your leg so you get into position, and he places a pistol in front of you. Hold that, point at the target. Now remember, these things aren't human, and bullets don't normally stop them so much, but it'll slow it down and you can focus on other things. So, and he begins to like walk you through the basics of firearms and everything. Yeah, no, back up the way it was. Nice try.
It's a bit cooler.
Yeah, it is. It's not what he says, but I agree. And he'll walk you through some training. Is this kind of where you spend most of your time? Is this part of your recovery?
Yeah, absolutely. Chaz will gladly leave all the research and writing and planning and boring stuff to the other members of the party, because yeah, you just gotta get swole.
Awesome. So you'll mostly hang out with Captain Morrison and Larry Neckler. Larry's a very friendly bloke. He's more on like the mechanical side, but you have some mechanical repair as well. So honestly, you kind of click with him a bit as he's going over equipment and getting things ready. Captain Morrison is he's friendly enough when you're not in training or anything. He's a bit more like peer-to-peer because this is not a military thing, but whenever it comes down to training, and you definitely get the feel that in the field, it's very much we have a hierarchy and I'm at the top of it. So you're gonna have to respect that, but while we're here, that's all fine. If that all goes good, that's great. Okay, awesome. So Jackson, Chaz, you spend some time doing the training. What about Seb and Katie?
You want to jump in first, Seb, or should we leave yours to last? Because I'm pretty sure it's going to get spooky.
Sure.
Okay.
If you've got something to roll with, please.
All right.
Ladies first.
Why, thank you. I'll jump in first. So I think that Katie is ready on the first day. Mm-hmm. She actually isn't injured. And although I didn't actually update my character sheet for the rest that we got in the last session, Dave, in those couple of days, which you may be going on, I'm on full health before we go in here. Awesome. I am completely unharmed. I only had a couple of scratches that were mostly inflicted by myself running my hands through glass as I tried to beat down on all these poor people when my mind was taken over. But I think that I come out at like 7:30 a.m. Dressed and like prim and proper with like my notebook ready to go, kind of expecting to be set to work. And I'm not, trying to be demanding about it, but I'll very much make myself kind of present around as much as I can. And if there's no work for me, I'll sit down and find myself something to do. So like I said, preparing logistics, trying to get ready. I picture I'm doing very much a similar thing to Chaz, but basically instead of on the physical kind of fighting side, I'm, the planning behind the scenes.
Yeah, so you would have been told the same thing. Rest is most important at the moment, and even though you're, physically well, you've been through a lot in the last few months, is a chance to decompress, center yourself, and make sure that you're ready for what's to come. Miss Preston's very clear on that and won't really entertain much further, and she only appears once every couple of days to check in very briefly on each of you. The others that are around that might be relevant to you will be Professor Drake, who will do psychoanalytical evaluations, and Dr. Sarah Matherson, who will talk to you more about your encounters with the Migo and the study of them. Finally, the last one is you were also told that Violet is somewhere in this facility and is being cared for here. They do not give you any further information on her, though, up front.
Okay, I think that's actually a really good point. I forgot that she was actually in the facility. All right, so I think that that is lingering on Katie's mind, and she is also kind of scared by it. She maybe knows deep down that she is responsible here, and she's pretty happy to have the option to visit Violet taken out of her hands, at least for the time being. I think that she uses the option to try and throw herself into work as an excuse. Would you permit me to make a charm check to try and convince the good doctor to let me help?
So as she comes in one time, she'll interview you in one of these glass-walled rooms, very, not rent office, like you have to check in. And she sits across from you with a heavy folder filled with files that she begins to pull out and cross-check your interactions against hers. She has never met with a living Migo, and the brief samples that she's been able to study have quickly faded away into sort of like ectoplasm style things after being destroyed. So it's all fairly theoretical for her, and she's going off of stories. I presume you're fairly open with her?
I'm completely open, and I'm also interested in trying to figure out exactly what the difference was between the experience with Amigo that we had in Cobb's Corners compared to the experience with Amigo that we had closer to Arkham, because they don't exactly line up. What were those trees? How did they fit in? The strange limbs that attacked, Clarissa, the buzzing figure in the woods, was that just a possessed person? Does that mean that more people are going to have the capacity to do that? I don't know.
Yeah, awesome. So you talk to her through all these. She doesn't have the answers to all of them. I mean, they've learned that these creatures are able to basically biologically rebuild themselves to express purposes. And her theory is that they know that at the very least there are different forms of Migo. The one that you encountered may have been more of a soldier. A one built to kill or to capture, whereas the others you found may have been, the more mundane, like a vanilla one that can be built upon for different purposes, and possibly some are the one that you encounter in the woods may have been some sort of spy that can pass at a distance as human. They've heard of these sorts of things before, and they seem to be different to what they've done to Trent and the others. She does have Trent lowered down, and she has interviewed him a few times. He is still well, she says.
I will mention, well, Doctor, I know that we don't have the same kind of clear delineation as these creatures, but I am the type of person who works as well, if you get my drift. So please, if there's anything that I could do, I've already started looking at my Vermont guidebook, and I'll start trying to pitch again. Please let me help.
Okay. Yeah, in that case, why don't you make a charm roll for me?
All right. I'm not very good at charm.
Or
so
actually, don't make charm roll. Make a relevant skill roll to show that you're ready to go, and that you'll be that you can. This is the way that you're pitching that you can help.
Sure. Give me a second, because I was sort of expecting to go in at charm and then suddenly be soundly rebuffed. Could I come in with a history possibly, or alternatively, could I come in with an occult?
History or occult will get you prepared with Professor David Drake,
Right.
and looking into the history of the region, not with Matheson and the scientific pursuit. But that says you could still do it.
What about science, mathematics, or science, geology?
Yeah, absolutely. Either one of those will definitely apply.
All right, let's go with mathematics, because that is my primary. Success, bang on.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, you're able to. I mean, from mathematics, you can probably talk about the relics that you saw, the sort of the discs that you've seen earlier, and that your idea that there was some sort of like mathematical formulae to possibly decode them. She's astounded by this idea that they have a written language. She's never seen one directly, although she presumed that they may have. And the fact that their senses are so different to ours, it only tracks that they wouldn't use a traditional written language. They'd have something else.
And I think this is sort of me coming from a scientific perspective. So I probably do talk about geology a little bit. I have 50 in geology, so this is also my area of expertise. I'm kind of pitching myself into the scientific field.
100%. She will take you. After a couple of days of interviews and a little bit of rest, she'll come up one time and ask for you to accompany her, because they have some, something that might be good to get your mind across, especially if you're going to be joining the team. Then it's better to start now than wait. And she, like Chaz, will take you down into the basement, where they have secured off a section of the place where the regular working folk aren't to go. Past glass panel doors and towards the distance, you will find a cold laboratory with a number of specimens sprawled out amongst it, as well as a few assistants moving around, but she's definitely in charge of the area. Do you want to say something?
If I may, as I'm passing through, I pass by the gym where there's like a glass-fronted thing, and I'll knock on just as Chaz is doing something. He looks over and gets distracted and flipped and dumped or something. Full bit. And yes, sorry, that's all I wanted to add.
Awesome. You are then taken through here and begin to study some things. You can assist Dr. Matheson. You'll find her to be a very dedicated and studious woman. Once she sets her mind to a single task, she basically focuses on it until it's brought through to completion, and she can't be easily distracted. She has very odd hours, in that once she starts doing something, she basically doesn't sleep or eat much until it's completed. And oftentimes one of the assistants will come along and sort of shake her out, or just pump enough coffee into her to keep her going. And she is also easily intelligent enough to be able to break most of these problems given enough time. Down here you'll see her decoding formulae, studying some of the samples that have been retrieved, and also beginning to piece together the locations in the world that these Migo could be. Also, finally, they do have a sample of Pascalium, the impossible mineral that you found earlier, that one of the what's the word? Not archaeologists, the
Geologists?
Yeah, I guess. Geologists are found for Federated Oil and Chemical, and this sample is here being studied. They know that it's something important to the Migo, they just don't exactly know why. And you have a bit of a chance to tool with that as well. Is this kind of where you remain for the bulk of the...
I get parked right in. I think Chaz and I are both pretty, immediately integrating ourselves into the oil and chemical structure. They seem like nice folks.
I do have one more thing, actually. Towards the back there's a cold room which is kept locked. It's like a freezer or something with one of those heavy locks across it like you might find back of like a restaurant or something. This was previously a bank, and they've repurposed the vaults for this. And it's clear it's not kept locked, but it isn't. You are never taken into it. You walk past it each time. You're not expressly told not to go in, but you do get the impression that they are storing something inside there, because all of the other assistants definitely keep away from it. They never open it. They never close it. You don't see them restocking what's inside. They don't ever seem to take anything out from it either.
That's interesting. At one point, can I press my ear against the side and see if I hear a slight buzzing from within?
Yeah, sure. You press your ear up against it, and it's freezing cold and heavy metal. Go ahead and make a listen roll.
Listen roll.
There's nothing.
That is a hard success.
There's nothing moving inside. Nothing living.
All right. Okay. At least
Not
it's not one
mechanical.
of them. All right. Great. I'll let secrets be lie for the moment.
No worries. All right. You just head around and throw yourself back into your work. So with Katie and Chaz both spending a fair bit of time in the basement, you get given access to come and go, and then the rest in your rooms recovering. Seb, where do we find you for this period?
Sebastian does not leave his room.
Ever?
Sebastian is in his room and the door is locked. The only time it is unlocked is when someone brings him food. Otherwise, he is in his room. He begs off any current or requested interviews with anyone with the "I'm terribly sorry, I'm too tired, I need to rest," and will actively push back against speaking to anyone, meaning he's going to try and avoid having a conversation with Drake. If Drake does try and come around, he's going to be like, I'm too tired, can we do this another time? And he does that for the entire time. He spends his time nursing cups of black coffee, unsweetened. And he thumbs through the pages of nameless cults.
Studying.
And depending on how long that takes him to get through and what he finds, we'll find out what he does next.
Okay, awesome. So can I get you to make a social check to get Drake off your ass? Both he and Matheson are going to try and speak with you. And as far as they're concerned, it's just standard. You're able to like stall them for a day or two, but after a while they will say, look, we just do need to debrief.
Very good. I will give you a persuade if that's all right.
Yeah, go for it.
Leave me alone.
100%. You're able to stall them out, basically. And although they will say, you know, look, at some point we're going to need to talk. It's just protocol. I'm afraid we need to make sure that you're well before we put you in the field and that you're not a danger to others. I'm sure you can appreciate that. But Mr. McCarthy, we will let you rest. We'll let you continue your studies. Know that you will not be permitted full use of the facilities until we have conducted our interview, but you're free to stay in your room, eat and read.
I have no interest in full use of the facilities at this time, Doctor. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. And you stay inside and continue to throw yourselves. You have a small silver bell on your desk, which when you ring produces a assistant who brings you food at whatever odd hour they may find you. And slowly, in a small blacked out room, your sleep cycle begins to just go fucking haywire. As you can kind of like, you know, sleep when you're tired, eat when you're hungry, and read during every other hour. Okay, so you throw yourself into Nameless Cults. Looking at this is one of the English tomes, and with a fairly impressive study time, this will take a while, but first you will need to conduct the initial reading of it. So can you go ahead and give me an English language roll? Oh my god, again?
Oh, dude!
Hello.
Holy shit.
So, Seb's good, yo.
Yeah, Seb is good. Okay. All right. Awesome. So
He's like, fuck.
this is an unauthorized translation of an originally German text. There are very few copies existing, but this is a copy. There are a number of these translated version and the original. You're unclear where it comes from. Does Seb have any? It's French that's your language of choice, right? And some Latin.
Not Latin. Ancient Greek.
Ancient Greek, even. Hell yeah.
Because a student of rhetoric, he has to be able to read all of the old rhetorical texts
That was
by,
it.
Plato and Socrates and Aristotle and all those lot who were like, this is how you argue in the good ways.
I'm a student of rhetoric. Oh. You never said.
So what this tome is it's very heavy. It's about, yay thick and divided into a number of chapters. Each one focuses on a different cult in a different region. The original is German. There are a few mistranslations and lost details, but it's still very, very thorough. There is a breakdown of each chapter, and it's pretty cool, so I kind of just want to briefly hit you with them. So the first one is an obscure German cult centered around a nameless village that worships a dread entity known as Kiega. There is a fertility cult in southern France which worships a three-headed goat, and inside there, with your critical.
Can I know it's probably not written in the book, but can I guess who that is?
Yeah, 100%.
Is it Shub-Niggurath? Is that the goat?
Yeah. And also because it is mentioned in the book, and there is the ability to learn a spell to call or dismiss this creature, as well as summon and bind something which is a close following of this creature known as a dark young. And scratched along these symbols you will find pictures of trees which look very similar to the one that young Jason drew all the way back in Cobb's Corners. It would seem that this particular entity has a foothold in Vermont. There is mention of
I can talk to trees. I'm becoming Keyleth.
Yeah. There is a mention of a rural English coven of pagan witches, in which you see depictions of a horned man that they worship. There is a degenerate cult of cannibals living in the slums of Paris, and once again, you kind of see ties to the Ghoul book, Cult des Ghouls. Seems that this has like threads through there, and you're actually beginning to like build mythos around it and begin to connect pieces.
Again, not that Seb would know. This isn't the same cult that we found in the catacombs in Reign of Terror, is it?
It's ghouls in catacombs. How many can there be?
Hell yeah!
Quite a lot,
Oh my god,
probably.
it's all coming together.
Hell yeah.
If you haven't watched it, for anyone in chat, go check out Reign of Terror. Amazing one-shot series of fun times.
There's mentions of then beyond that cults in Asia, Russia, ministries in Tibet, someone that worships a sea god across the eastern Mediterranean, death worshipping cults in southern Spain, a Transylvanian cult which conducts human sacrifices to a terrible thing that should not be named, a cult in the village of Strigojava. Don't know where that is, that worships a hideous god who crouches atop an ancient black stone monolith, an ancient order called the Brothers of the Yellow Sign, which is further away, and an Egyptian sect called the Brotherhood of the Beast. Lastly, there is a secretive worldwide cult that is yet to be nailed down. This is what the author was still studying when he completed this tome and moved to pen another, which speaks of an unspeakable beast bound beneath a volcano under the Pacific. All of this is just on your first beginning to move through, but with a crit you've been able to get a vibe for a lot of information and piece it together. Each of these 14 chapters focus on a different cult, and through this you've begun to expand your knowledge of the mythos and its place in this world. So first of all, go ahead and increase your Cthulhu mythos by 4%.
Whoa.
And additionally, because you remain an unbeliever, can you please store a 2d8 sanity loss?
Oh, 2d8! Oh my god.
2d8? I thought... Okay.
What?
I asked you last week and it was 2d6 then, but...
No, that was one of the other ones, it's 2d6.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Well, that's cool.
Yep.
Very quickly, just because we've got a beat while Art records these. Strigojava is in the mountains of Hungary, and it is based on a book written by Robert E. Howard, who is the creator of Conan. So there you go.
Hey, there you go. It's old, mate.
He was into the Cthulhuverse for a bit, wasn't he?
Yes, yes.
There you go.
So,
Contributions.
currently, if I lose sanity to a mythos thing,
Yep.
and I were to roll max on all of my current repression, 32 sanity loss.
So very quickly, just wondering about the some of the possible mechanical optimizations that Seb can make, Art can make for Seb to minimize sanity loss. If Seb goes insane literally hits indefinite insanity just witnessing a creature. So witness the creature, you lose a D8, you go indefinite, or you go into a bout.
And you can't lose further.
You can't lose further. Does that mean that it would negate all of the reading?
No.
Okay.
I assume it's all bundled together. Like you roll it all at once, and that's everything you lose. And then Seb goes, "Oh, I'm fine."
Yeah, oh dear.
No, Seb goes, "I'm fine."
Yeah. Yeah. So
worse.
yeah, something to deal with. So increase Cthulhu Mythos by 4 percentiles. Stored sanity loss of 2d8. This full study will take you 48 weeks, but you can begin process on it. And with the crit, we're going to accelerate that. You've got a feel for this book and you're moving through it. Additionally, you can see that there is a ton of spells in here.
Cool.
Normally, they are calling and dismissing, summoning and binding a number of larger entities and smaller ones. If you have any of them that you want to focus on, you can. There's also mentions of previous spells which you've seen, including the Recuperate, or whatever it was called, the Resurrection spell is included here once again under the bound ghouls.
There's a resurrection spell?
Yeah, it was the recrudescence, brings the dead back to life. You guys were told of that
As
during last.
people or as zombies?
Oh, there was two.
Oh, okay.
There was the black binding, which seemed to create and bind zombies to your will, and there was recrudescence, which brings the dead back to life.
Well, I mean, if Seb already has protection magic, it stands to reason he should also have resurrection magic, because then he could just go full cleric.
Yeah. There's also another defensive spell which you were teased, which was called Armor of the Will, which seemed to bolster your health.
Just out of curiosity. Anything to increase my power?
No, not through here alone. However, there is a mechanic in Call of Cthulhu where you can increase power, and it is by winning contested power rolls by casting spells. So if you get anything that basically attacks another and forces your will upon them, and you win that, you will get chances to increase your power. And that is through, now you've begun to study the mythos and begun to learn this, that is the typical way that sorcerers and long-living wizards begin to grow in power and reach just like insane levels, because over time they enforce their will on others and begin to accelerate their ability. That's also why they need abilities like the lasting cloak of another's flesh, which allowed you to move your mind into that of another so that you become long-lived, because this stuff takes time and years of study and dastardly nonsense.
All right, I think Seb is interested in the Shub-Niggurath simply because that relates to what we've seen. I don't think he's going to do a full reading because I'm assuming, because I don't really understand the mechanics of this, when you do another full reading, do you get the Cthulhu Mythos again? Is that why you would do a full reading?
You get a bigger one on the second one.
Cool. Yeah. So
there's another thing with tomes is they all have a mythos rating. This one has a mythos rating of 36. When you use this tome, when you would roll Cthulhu Mythos to know about something, if it's relevant to the tome, you can roll the tome's Cthulhu Mythos, not your own. So if you have this book on you and you're like, I wonder if this is a cult, or I'd know anything about this cult, you can flip open this heavy tome and rifle through it to find information, and you roll under a 36, you'll get it. So that's like a reason why you might carry tomes in chained cases and things places.
I mean, given I already have a locked box full of books, it stands to reason. No, I think given that I know this is all going to take time, I do want to do a further reading specifically of the Shub-Niggurath chapter. I'm not going to, I know this is probably mechanically not really specified, but I'm not going to read in great detail the other chapters just yet.
That's fine.
I am interested in Armor of the Will. I am interested in Resurrection. I'm not yet interested in putting my brain in someone else's body, but I feel if Seb does in fact go insane, that may be something he starts going, yes. I did have one other question for you mechanically. We spoke about the fact that if I want to imbue my carvings with Elder Sign, I have to give up
to sacrifice 10 power.
10 power. Sanity and power are linked at the beginning of the game. Are they linked from then on?
No.
Okay, so like if I was to lose 10 power, I'm not gonna also then suddenly lose 10.
That's right. So once you lose, now your sanity maximum is equal to 99 minus your Cthulhu Mythos skill. For simplicity's sake, 100 minus your Cthulhu Mythos skill. So you cannot go above that. And you will get to a point later on, I think it's an optional rule, but it's one we've played with before, where you can roll under Cthulhu Mythos to see if you go insane or not. Once your Cthulhu Mythos gets higher than sanity, basically, because then it's like, no, I've seen or heard of this, so I'm not as affected by it.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome. So
My
of
Cthulhu
those,
Mythos is 12, by the way.
yeah, so not quite there yet, because your sanity is 1 billion or whatever.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's in the
I
case.
mean, I feel like I know more than anyone else in this place at this point. I would
Probably
guess.
true.
You'd be getting on a similar level. More broad, theirs is more specific, but there are people here that definitely have done some research into the mythos. So with that in mind, which of these would you want to focus on? Is there one of the spells that you want to throw yourself to learning, or?
I think Armor of the Will sounds like a very good one for Seb currently, given that his thing is protection for himself and for himself.
Yep.
Currently, he would like to stay alive long enough to learn more about this stuff. So that's his focus. And depending on time frame, that and studying Shub-Niggurath and the trees.
Okay, awesome. Go ahead and make an intelligence roll for this first spell, the Armor of Thy Will.
Hard success.
You got a hard success, sorry?
Stop.
Oh, there it goes. There it
stop.
comes through.
Is
Okay,
so good
awesome.
at this.
Stop being so good at this. This is outrageous.
One moment.
No,
Oh, okay.
make me,
Make me.
because then I will force my will upon you and get more powerful.
And only
No.
grow. Okay, awesome. You learn this spell. It takes a while to cast, and the first time you cast it, you are going to need to make or succeed a hard power roll, just a heads up. Otherwise, you'll have to go back and restudy it, or it counts as pushing it. Pushing it can still cast, it just has other effects, which is quite cool, so go ahead for it. And what this does is this creates a pool of armor, effectively, which blocks non-magical attacks. I'll give you the specific information in a bit, and mostly when you cast it, but it's a defensive spell. You want to cast it before combat, really. It's also, the sanity hit isn't too big for casting it.
Okay, and for do I get a sanity hit every time I cast spells or only on
Yes.
the initial?
Every time you cast spells.
Does this count towards, this doesn't count towards seeing mythos shit, does
No,
it?
I would say this is something that you still understand, so I'm fine with that.
Okay.
So you would take the hit, but it would
Yeah.
not trigger the
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned
big
about.
hit,
is-
the big kahuna.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I assume I'm not going to get into a position to need that before next session.
We'll see. Okay, speaking of which.
Ask if I need it.
All right, so after it will be 9 days pass, so the two of you that are damaged can restore 9 hit points as you basically throw yourself into work around here and just kind of live in the Federated oil and chemical space. And after that, the three of you are all gathered by Captain Sam Morrison, who says he wants to meet you in the briefing room. It's time for you to start getting across the upcoming mission and discuss logistics.
Can I quickly jump in with something? I think, so you said you're basically avoiding contact from everybody. I think that Katie probably does like an odd knock on the door once or twice just to sort of like kind of say hello. But I get the vibe that, practically
No,
by
I think
candlelight you're...
If Seb is awake, which who knows, but if you knock on the door at like, I assume if you do it a few times, there might be a time that you knock and maybe it's later on in the evening and you do get a hello from the other side of the door. And Seb is happy to see you.
I think I didn't actually have anything in particular I wanted.
No,
I think it's Katie just sort of pops in at one point. And
Occasionally
kind of like
checking
keeps
in.
keeps the I think she gets the sort of focused study vibe. Definitely doesn't want to break that, but also just trying to keep that door open because some of those books are pretty intense.
Yeah, I think like obviously no scene required, but I do think there is absolutely a point, like again late in the evening, where Seb might open the door and say like, come in, and there's a very brief like, would you like some coffee, and they just sort of like sit, and Seb is distracted and is like as we've established, Seb is good at keeping dinner party conversation going.
Yeah.
But even that's a little bit difficult. He seems to be very distracted, but has a conversation with you, is like glad to see you, and then will like see you out.
Yep.
And then as the door closes, you see him like turn back to his notes and his studies and just goes back to it.
As long as he is still alive, all is well, and I will toddle back to my.
He also seems surprisingly sane.
Oh, all things considered, yeah. I wonder if that'll last.
Definitely surprising. Okay.
Perfect.
All right, so you, the three of you are all gathered by, it would be Selena Preston. And to this one, Seb, any excuses are rebuffed. And basically, you are also told that this is going to be the meeting to discuss strategy, and you probably want your voice heard here.
So I'm being summoned.
Mm-hmm.
Sebastian will sigh to himself, close the heavy book he's been working from, put it back in the case, lock it, put the key in his pocket.
Perfect. So the three
These
of you
books
gather.
Is there any kind of like, there's no like warding shit in any of these books, are there?
The Elder Sign is amongst them. Presumably, it would repel mythos things. There was also a not that you've learned.
Right. I think Seb would also be keeping an eye out for like securing things kind of spells again,
Sure.
in the lines of protection and security.
I'll let you know if you find any.
Cool.
The three of you gather and meet with principally Captain Morrison and Larry Neckler. Selena Preston is there as well, in more of a representative of Michael Abelard. Dr. Matheson and Professor Drake are both working elsewhere and will not attend, so it's the three of you and the captain, principally, with Larry there to provide further detail on specifics as needed. He goes up and he addresses the group of you and pitches the strategy. So he says, as the three of you have been told already, the intent is to return to Vermont, specifically a region that you're familiar with, the small town of Cobb's Corners, where it's believed that the Migo have a presence already. The objective is twofold. One, to confirm the information given to us by the young Mr. Trent about the location of a subterranean or within the hill base of operations where the Migo are based out of, and additionally to locate any spies or allies of the Migo inside Cobb's Corner so they can be taken out quietly.
Joe's doing his best to stand behind the captain as if
fucking love
as
it.
if he's helping with the presentation.
You've kind of, I think you've kind of like buddied up a little bit with him, and he will actually, as you're doing that, he'll go, Chaz, if you could, he'll pass you like a marker for or actually a piece of chalk for the blackboard behind you, and he goes, if you could just mark these down as I mention them, that'd be great.
Handwriting is unreadable.
Yeah, it's just a scroll of crap.
I'll be going on a similar vein. As soon as I've heard that this is the idea, I'll be like, or maybe if I knew it slightly in advance from the planning perspective, I've got like little posters of already the people that we do know. So I put, you need to go and you need to talk to the wise woman, the doctor who lived at the edge of town. You need to talk to the sheriff who we know is associated, and getting all that kind of information.
Yeah, hell yeah. With like you guys chiming in with extra information, and Chaz basically just making a mess on the chalkboard behind, drawing lines to things, and at one point you decide a map would be useful, and then you stop it because you ran out of space for something else, and you scribble across it. This is a diagram.
How do you spell Migo?
Yeah, Chaz is gonna have to borrow Katie's notes after this. Again.
So he says, we're going to be based out of a nearby farmhouse. Now, I understand that the three of you stayed in one while you were up there, and we now know that it is completely unoccupied. So we're Federated Oil and Chemical has purchased the property. The intent is to go in there, refit it to be more secure, and then base out of there. So the team that will be on the ground will be myself leading, Larry, who's going to be in charge of supplies, basically quartermaster, and also keeping us in contact with the other teams. Dr. Matheson and Professor Drake will also be in attendance. They're going to base out of the farm, and they're going to be in charge of any research and confirming information. The three of you are our experts in the area. You're familiar with the town, and you've had encounters with them previously. You also know know the surrounds. You're going to be basically our eyes and ears in town, as well as probably pushing us towards specific agendas. For myself, I'm going to be security, leadership, and I'm also going to be leading forays into the surrounding woods in search of Migo presence. Now, we know that these people are a threat. Not these people, these aliens are a threat. So we have a reinforcement. A team of 12 mercenaries, ex-military, are going to be stationed not far from where we are, hidden in the woods. Larry will be in contact with them constantly, and if necessary, they'll be ready to storm either Cobb's Corners, our base of operations, or the Migo hidden base once discovered. The objective is to identify every spy, identify the base of operations, and then hit both in one long night. And take them out, problem solved, find anything we can, deal with the problem. Does that all make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Okay.
There are things in that area that are capable of scooping minds and replacing people with others. Do you think it is wise to take a large group of heavily armored men into an area where they could be retconned against us?
The men are going to be stationed away from us, and they're not leaving their camp at any point. They're going to be alternating watches and keeping eyes on one another. They are not going out into the woods. They are not going out by themselves. They are the lowest risk of everything. Now, while we are there, everyone's going to be teamed up. No one going anywhere by themselves at any point. People are going to be confirming that one another is still the people that we believe them to be. From what we've seen, the Migo need time to make any changes. They'd need to abduct and surgically replace them. From what we've seen with Mr. Trent, that operation took days, so it's not instant. If anyone goes missing for long periods, they're going to be treated with extreme discretion upon return.
And I hate to be the one to bring this up, but so the obvious flaw here would be you've checked all the mercenaries in advance, checked for scars, signs of surgery. We're sure that they haven't been preempted and already swapped.
We've sourced them all from a region which has had no previous signs of Migo presence. They are being kept off-site for the time being, and they will be inspected again before they're brought in.
Okay, thank you.
I've also worked with some of them before, so I can vouch for them personally.
Who is maintaining Mr. Trent's well-being at this time?
He's being stationed. He's located down with Dr. Matherson, but we have people checking on him regularly.
I make a request to speak to Dr. Matheson when it becomes available.
Okay. Apart from that, we have a list of supplies which are going to be brought with us. If there's anything else that you'd like to request, you can do so, and we'll make sure we source it. The operation still won't commence for another few weeks or so, and as I understand it, he looks over to Miss Preston in the back, who nods. There's something else that'll have your attention in the meantime, so we'll source this. Additionally, we will begin training with this equipment so that you'll actually know how to use it. I understand that some of you have never fired a gun before, so we'll make sure that you can at least do that before we land. With that, I'm going to share a handout with you. It's not one that needs to be really studied, but what this is, I'll show it to the viewers as well, should come through.
Excellent.
Is a list of equipment which is being planned to be brought with, and within reason, you can request other equipment and they'll source it. So this is what they think is going to be on the top of their checklist.
Thanks to chat for doing this, but we might want to request for some old-timey artillery cannon fire, because there is the cannon in the center of town.
The big cheese.
So we want to get you on that, as quickly as possible.
So don't sweat the checklist at the moment. It's something to kind of have in the back of your heads. You can have requested it here, and then we can kind of go backwards.
Another thing chat wanted to clarify, is that the same farmhouse?
Yes, it is. It is because they have bought it. It was previously given over, and then since then, the only other person who had a claim on it was killed. So yes, it's the same farmhouse. It is the McLaren farmhouse.
That's right. Killed and I was framed for his murder. As I believe.
For anyone who has forgotten the ridiculous red string bullshit that farmhouse is, the McLaren farmhouse was owned by the town drunk James McLaren, whose wife, Anne McLaren, was one of the people who died, and Anne McLaren is the sister of the sheriff.
So
I may have watched the first couple of episodes
has
slightly
a deputy who possibly finished off
Killed
McLaren,
McLaren.
framed
Who
it on
did kill
Chaz.
McLaren and then frame Chaz, and
that
also is a
locked
wizard.
Chaz in, was let out, did a wizard spell, Chaz defeat.
And the proms
YouTube.com/Chaosium
tomorrow.
Inc. Yeah,
Catch up on chapter 1 on YouTube.
Dear. So you guys can place some requests. Apart from that, they are very open to further suggestions. The how are we going to verify the other military was a good flag, and they look into that, and they emphasize that is going to be a priority. They're going to make sure they're double and triple checked, and if you have any other ideas of how to do that, they are more than willing to take them on board. This is very much you guys are the kind of experts. You've gone face to face with more Migo than most of them have. Captain Morrison himself has never fought one, but he's training too, and he's prepared for it.
In that case, at when there's a list of things, Sebastian will look at it and be like, look, this is all very well and good, but they are moderate. We believe they're impervious to bullets. You probably want something large and heavy and blunt.
We can source clubs easily enough.
Well, as far as our research is concerned, yeah, shooting them is not going to do anything except piss them off.
Piss them off, yep. 100%. Yeah, he'll add to make sure that they bring some blunt instruments.
We've got Chaz right there.
Yeah. And I can swing a bat. What else? What else is good? What's tougher than a baseball bat? What do you need? You can get metal bats. You get metal bats now.
Yeah, you can probably get some like military grade whacking stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we got some military grade whacking sticks. That's what we need.
Batons or blackjacks. So
What about like a nice mace? Something straight out of like the 1300s. Big spiky bastard.
We gotta get medieval up in here.
In answer to what is, what did you say? What is like blunter?
Yeah.
Chaz,
bigger than a bat.
Chaz's head.
Yeah.
Chaz getting it from every angle.
That's my aesthetic. Smooth as an egg.
It's a very solid aesthetic. Seb has too many wrinkles.
So you'll run through the plan, and they go over the basics. They say again, we'll clarify this further upon your return. But now I'm going to hand over to Miss Preston, who has a more current issue for the three of you to attend to. Selena steps up, thanks the captain and Larry, who both like gather up some of the equipment they've been like showing and they were like demoing how the radio will work and stuff. They leave the room. Miss Preston walks over and closes the door.
Remind me who Selena is again?
She is a direct assistant to Michael Abelard and basically your point of contact in Federated Oil and Chemical. She is a blonde woman, formally dressed and very efficient and quite practical. She moves over, grabs an eraser off the chalkboard, and in one motion goes straight through half of Chaz's writing, completely disregarding it, and then makes space for herself to make a couple notes on the board.
I'll make eye contact with Katie just to make sure you got out there, didn't you?
Yeah.
It's just a question mark.
Can I say one last thing as the soldiers leave? I just imagine something that I think that I guess Katie suggests, but I imagine they probably thought of it themselves. We've seen previously that these the Migo have that scar along the top of their head. The people that have been changed, that is, because they need the surgery sign. We should be going in with shaved heads. 100%.
Oh hell
yeah!
Buzz
like
cuts.
buzz cuts, hide it. You immediately you can see. No hiding it under the hairline.
I
love
really
it.
like that.
Yeah, I mean it should be a.
I came prepared.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
and for cosplay, the three of you are committed to shaving your heads completely bald, right? Art's pretty close already.
I will do my usual and take it down to a 1, which you can absolutely see my scalp through.
Yeah, as long as you can see scars, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
James, Jackson, happy to commit?
I'm doing 2 plays the next 3 months, and we've already taken the photos for the posters. So
Yeah, you committed, unfortunately.
Jackson's doing 2 plays next month. He's already taken the photos for the posters, so I'm afraid I can't either.
I mean, I feel like James already gets a pass for being extremely committed to cosplay.
I agree. He's earned it. You both have. Jackson spent half the time rugged up, and I think everyone gets cosplay passes.
Art was in contacts for shadows, which is pretty extreme.
Yeah, fuck me, those were a pain in the ass.
Okay, so
I had so many eye drops.
You'll have a gimme token for getting out of it, but I'll get you.
I mean, I'm still going to shave my head. It's fine.
Okay, awesome.
I do that anyway.
I'll get you an extra gimme token. Okay, so Selena whirls around and addresses the three of you. She says, recently 2 corpses were found in Latuque, Canada. They were identified by local police as homeless men from the region, and more critically to us, they were found with their heads open and their brains removed. We have reason obvious enough to believe that there is Migo presence there, and we want to get the 3 of you up there immediately to look into it. This is a chance to stretch your legs, get back into the practice of it, and see if there's any more intel you can find. Now, the primary objective is confirming if there is Migo presence, and getting yourselves back into the swing of things. However, a secondary objective, which would be incredibly valuable, is the live capture of one of the Migo. So what we'd want to do is we're going to get you on a private plane, get you up there to meet with Leon Pascal. You've met with him previously. He's up there doing some investigation for us. All of this is covered for. We're going to put you up in a hotel, and you can take up to a week, 2 weeks to look into this as you need, see what you can find, and report back.
Okay, and you'll have a plane ready for us to exfiltrate out of Canada with. You know, we don't need to try and take the Migo in coach.
We will have a means for you to get out. We're going to send you up with a trunk.
Like a case, you mean?
Yeah, it's going to be secure.
Okay.
We have a private plane as well, though. You'll be coming out.
Okay, good.
With us.
I was terrified we were going to have to take the bus. Okay, no, that's fine.
No.
Yeah.
How big is the trunk?
Sizable.
Do you know? Are you familiar with how large these things are?
Hey, look, they know what they're doing, all right? Seb, don't worry about it.
If captured and incapacitated, you'll be able to fit it inside, unless it's significantly larger than something we've encountered before.
If we can't get it inside, we can hide in the trunk so it can't kill us, right?
Just because I am trying to get ahead. Like, the one that we the one that we drove away from
Fled
at
from.
high speed was the size of a car.
It was not full car size, but it was definitely big. It was also bulked out. Yeah. Whereas the one that was captured on film by the reporter was smaller. In average, I mean, size-wise, they're larger than human, but not by a great amount.
We know that they differ in size and makeup based on their their job.
They do.
Essentially.
Truth be told, she's aware that this is a big ask. She's saying this is also one has not been captured previously. We are preparing for the possibility of it happening. We are not demanding it of you. Your objective is to go up there and find any presence, any Migo presence and any information about them. However, if the opportunity presents itself, which we hope it will, and you have the ability to bring one back, that would be an immense boon. So we're going to send you with a case and the equipment for it.
Okay. Yeah, is Latuque in an English-speaking part of Canada?
It is not.
Okay.
Leon
All right,
can serve as translator, but as I understand from my reading, Mr. McCarthy, you speak some French.
Maybe.
Then you'll be good on ground.
I'm gonna need a guidebook.
Seb's family is, I think I said New Hampshire, which means they spend a lot of time going across the border and into Canada and spending, holidays skiing. So, French.
A significant portion of the population do speak English, especially anyone in a position of charge will probably speak some English, but the people around town, there's a good chance they'll only speak French.
Okay, well, this is good. We can figure this out, and it doesn't make much sense for the Migo to be taking homeless people off the street. I mean, they seem to have selected people for very specific purposes in the past, so unless there's some kind of objective that only a couple of homeless people can achieve.
They're also leaving the bodies behind, so this is definitely different. That's what you're there to find out.
Excellent. All right.
I mean, for the purposes of what they would actually use that for, Katie, reconnaissance. People don't tend to pay attention to people sleeping rough.
That's a good point, sir. But the bodies are gone. So anyway, we'll figure this out. All right, let's get to it.
If you can pack your things and be ready to go, we have a car downstairs waiting to depart.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's go.
Okay.
Are we gonna? Will you be giving us guns?
Do you feel like you need them?
If we're going up against the Migo, I'd feel a bit more secure if I had, I don't know, a pistol or.
And it's not even the Migo we got to worry about. It's the the people with their brains swapped, right? It's the people who are just because Amigo won't go down with a bullet doesn't mean the people helping him won't. That's what I'm saying.
We can source firearms for you. Now, you haven't gone through the training yet, so we're not going to give you anything particularly heavy. We prefer that you keep a low profile and just, investigate discreetly.
Okay, but we prefer to come back alive.
We can source you firearms. What would you like?
A pistol and a kosh would be ideal for me.
Sure. That can be done.
Oh, I'll take whatever you got.
Pistol and a kosh?
Yeah, all right.
Mr. McCarthy?
Oh, sorry. I was thinking about something else. I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Grips the top of his cane just a little bit tighter.
Fuck yeah.
Okay.
You pack like day bags, a couple of changes of clothes and things, and what I'll be interested to know if you do with the trunk of books and things. Once you're there, the plane will be nearby, but not like immediate evac. Latuk is a bit isolated, so there is a short train up to it. The original plane is land in Quebec, and then take the train up. You'll meet Leon Pascal there, and then if you do manage to capture one of these things, they'll organize you to either check the thing if it's in the cargo back onto the train, or otherwise you can drive back down there. He has a car for himself. Yeah.
Did you want to go first, Seb?
No, you go.
We're in the tail end of summer, right? I'm just thinking if we're heading into northern Canada, regarding.
It's autumn. It's gonna be cold.
Okay. In which case, lad, you can tell I'm trying to wring every bit of mechanical advantage we can get out here. Because last time we went against the Migo, we almost TPK'd. Would heavy leather coats be something that we could also source? Okay, for 1 point of armor, I will take it.
100%. Yeah, and they'll also we'll say they dub it as winter clothing, like it's like thick like jackets and things.
Excellent.
They are Federated oil and chemical ones. They're like the company branded ones they send out. So the whole thing isn't fluoro, but there is a bright orange patch across it with Federated oil and chemical written on it. But they are very nice jackets.
Sure.
And each sized appropriately.
All right. Great. That's me done. I'm ready to go.
I would, if we have an opportunity, I'd like to speak to Matheson before we leave. And also, I want to try and find someone who is good with electronics.
Sure. That'd be probably Larry. Or
Amazing.
if what you're thinking about is the Migo device, Dr. Matheson would be probably where to start with that, and she can source
In that case, that kills two birds with one stone.
Okay, sure. She is busy, and the idea is to depart as soon as possible, but if it's a brief discussion, she can meet with you.
Does it really look like Seb is going to let himself be bundled in a car without doing what he wants to do first?
It's up to the others. It depends.
Seb gets away with a lot.
Seb has a lot of leg room, I think.
We tend to let Seb get away with what he wants, yeah.
It's easier than forcing it.
It's so much better.
Well, it's more that if we try to say no, Seb has a way of convincing us that it actually is what we want, and then we all get what we want. So
everyone wins, which is great.
No, it is not a long conversation, so it hopefully won't take very long. So yeah, Seb will go and find Matheson and...
Matheson will have to come to you because you do not have the run of the facility currently because you haven't gone through your interviews. So Matheson can meet you in this same room. Everyone else goes to prepare, and Miss Preston will ask Matheson to come up and meet with you briefly.
Seb will continue to sit in the chair he's been sitting in, legs crossed, leaning on his cane, waiting patiently.
When
Expressionless.
Matheson comes in, she clearly hasn't slept in a couple days, and she looks a bit distracted. She's been pulled away from research, and she's not thrilled about it. So when she comes inside, she goes, "Yes, you wanted to meet with me, Mr. McCarthy."
Matheson. Oh, Dr. Matheson.
Yes.
I know it's Dr. Matheson. You look a little tired. Are you quite well?
Focused, busy. I'm just trying to get things done. A lot to do and not enough time to do it.
I understand. I have been told that you're the one that is taking lead on looking after our resident interloper. Is that correct?
Storing the man. I'm not feeding him. I've conducted my interviews. As far as I'm concerned, he's on ice.
Literally or figuratively?
Figuratively. He's no use to us at the moment. He's being stored.
May I recommend at some point putting him literally on ice?
What are you suggesting? Drugging and
things.
sending the man into a coma?
Yes.
For the time being, it'd take us too long to wake him up if we have questions. Once the mission's completed, we'll deal with him then.
Of course, I just have reason to believe two things. One, that these things had ways of communicating with each other without needing to be near one another. I do think we've taken away that means of communication, but I don't know for sure. And secondly, that body does not belong to the brain that's in it, and I have a feeling that at some point we may find the original brain that belongs in that body, and it would be nice to be able to put it back, so on ice, if you understand my meaning.
Sure, I mean, we can make sure no harm comes to it. You mentioned their means of communication, or it was mentioned during the others' debrief. We've seen no evidence of it so far, and it seems that the creature that you killed seems to have put an end to that. We had an opportunity to inspect the site ourselves and found evidence that it has remained destroyed.
Did you ensure that there is no way for it to return?
Oh, yes. No, it's been completely destroyed.
Good. In that case, the last thing I wanted to bring to your attention, I understand you're studying the Migo and their technology, and Seb will pull out the device. Mm-hmm. I think you may want to take a look at this.
Very
be
much
careful.
so.
It's very volatile, and I don't know if you yourself have any kind of electrical expertise, but apparently that is what's required to understand this. I would ask, if I hand this over, if you do find out how these things work, if you would be so kind as to show me. I have a curiosity for this kind of technology.
Certainly, we've heard tell of this technology that they use, and the gentleman downstairs mentioned as well. We've also seen the scars that you and your counterparts bear. Give it here. I'll study it, and we'll see where we get to. She takes the device, turns it over in her hands, and then we'll place it on the table for like fetching. There'll be like a safe, something to store it in, zip it closed, and they treat it with not fear but respect.
I believe we had 2 or 3 of them, so I still have one in the trunk.
Because
being kept, so I have another one, but this one I'm happy to hand over.
Let's clarify that now. Let's say you have 3. Mm-hmm. They probably would have asked for one really early on, is what I'm thinking now, because going backwards, because they knew you guys had them. So if it doesn't, unless it just to keep things, it would make sense that you'd possibly give them that one had been given over early.
That's fine. If we had 3 and 2 of them have been given over, so long as there is one
you
that is stored, that's fine.
And it doesn't even need to be a secret. They're fine with you having it.
It is in my trunk. Yeah. And then I will just say, I wish you luck with your research, Doctor.
Best of luck in Latuk. And then she picks up the device and heads back towards the elevator and downstairs. By this point, Chaz and Katie, you've both packed up your equipment, and you've both been given small locked cases with a firearm and several bullets inside it, as well as a black leather kosh, which can be stored discreetly and deployed to thwack something as needed. You've also gotten heavy jackets, and a car downstairs is waiting to take you to the closest airport.
And for anyone who doesn't know what a kosh is, how do you spell that?
It's like Kosch, is that right? It's basically a whack and baton.
So. It's basically a sock filled with like sand, is how I always imagined it.
It's I think it's other.
Oh, it's Kosh. I was thinking it was like a oi 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 whack'em thing. I thought it was like a blackjack.
Yeah,
it is.
It's a club.
Yeah, it's a club.
It's similar
it's a
to
stick. It's a
the
Jamie was describing
similar...
a sock with sand in it, which is not what I was picturing.
I think it's a sap, is what that's called. It's like there's like a low rent version of it, which is just like a donk.
I got too complicated with the spelling. It's Kosh. It's a stick. Yeah. You can just whack them with it.
The fancy stick.
Baton, blackjack, kosh are all kind of the same thing, and then sap is the one that I think. I couldn't remember.
And
what
mechanically,
that was,
they're a D8 plus damage bonus.
Nice.
And they use fighting brawl, so.
Nice.
Fan-bloody-tastic.
I'm assuming that for the purposes of should I need to thwack anyone, my cane is essentially the same thing.
Yes, but it's two-handed.
Okay.
It's not a. This is what it's for. This is a weapon.
It's weighted perfectly.
Yours is also more discreet.
as we're all setting up and preparing when you come back down, Seb, I think I've got like I'm trying to figure out what time we'll arrive in Quebec and whether we're going to have time to go and see some of the sites nearby, because I really want to see Notre Dame before we go, and I want to make, if we can get to the Hotel Frontenac, it's meant to be really good. Maybe
you
we
are
can stay
not.
there for a night.
When you get off the plane, you're going to be immediately driven. You have a first-class ticket on the train waiting for you, and you'll be met on the other side by Leon Pascal.
If Katie is like riffing on like all of the things she's really excited to see, and then there's that like moment of, well, we're not gonna have time, Seb will just lean over and go, "Don't worry, Miss Wilkes, we'll find a chance. My family goes to Canada pretty regularly. You're welcome to join us next time we do." And Chaz as well, should you wish it.
Hey, not for nothing, Seb. I thought we were on a first name basis here.
Oh, I mean, it
After everything we went through, you think you could drop the miss and the mister and the master and the sir? Just an observation, up to you. Whatever makes you comfortable. Floats your boat.
I don't mean it to be rude, Chaz. It's family propriety. You're taught to speak to people a particular way, but if Chaz and Katie are preferred, then I will do my best. But perhaps it will still be Mr. Dedrick and Miss Wilkes in company.
Yeah, whatever. That's all right. We know how you really feel.
Well, at least someone does.
Let's go to Canada.
Awesome.
To Canada!
So what are you doing with the tomes and things, the bookery?
I will be bringing my notebook with me.
Sure.
That has all of my sort of jottings about what I have been going over, which I will be continuing to reference and look through.
I presume Katie the same.
Absolutely.
Chaz, you bringing a notebook or some sort of research materials?
No.
No?
What do I look like, a nerd?
What he brings is like written on his fists.
Mad Magazine?
That's what you need. Is that a thing yet? No, there must be something.
It's like weirdly old, isn't it?
I think I'm
Not that old.
not that old. No, you've got like
1952.
Oh, first issue in the 50s, 1952.
20 years.
But they'd be like similar.
Yeah, there's
They'd be-
comics and
They'd be
stuff.
like pulp, novels and the like. Penny Dreadfuls.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just Googling comics.
The first detective comic, which is Batman, came out in 1939. So Chaz,
Oh.
if you could survive for another 5 years, you were gonna have an awesome time. And
I thought DC was Superman first.
was it? I just looked up
Yeah.
Batman first appearance.
I think Superman
alright.
was the first DC comic, but I could be mistaken. Also, Superman couldn't fly.
Boing.
He jumped.
There's
He just jumped
my,
real high
in a
because he
single
comes
bound.
from a planet with real strong
Etc.
gravity. The things
There's my
we-
character motivation. Survive long enough to see the dawn of the comic book.
Yeah, so you bring your personal notebook, but not the tomes are being left.
The tomes are in a locked and secured case, which while it is not like a safe, Seb's family has valuables, and they would have cases that would, be able to transport valuables in a
be
relatively
locked,
secure
yeah.
way. Yeah, so he has a case that is, it's one of those trunks that are still, iron banded just because that's like travel cases. But the key is with Seb.
Sure. They're going to store it in the vault,
Great.
not your room. Just a heads up. And they'll say it too. It's just safer there. The rooms aren't as secure as the vault
Wait,
is.
the vault that's ice cold?
There's a number. This is not bank. There's a fuck ton of them. They have
Okay,
a
in
number of
that case,
secure
yeah.
things for different
Very,
things.
very happy for them to store it
It'll be temperature
somewhere.
controlled. They know books and things.
But it will, Seb will have the key on him. He brings the letter with him.
Which letter?
My name is Sebastian McCarthy.
Yes, gotcha. Awesome. Fold up and put in your pocket.
Yeah, which is where the key is stored in there, and that goes in his jacket, and then he hoiks on one of those like Federated oil and chemical over jackets and settles himself in for a journey.
Awesome. you all head downstairs and into a waiting, one of those long Rolls Royce. Your bags are put into the back, and a second car follows. Actually, no, a second van follows, heading towards a adjacent airport. I actually don't think Arkham has one, so it'll probably be driving up towards Salem or somewhere nearby. Wherever the closest airport is, doesn't really matter. It'll be a couple hours drive out towards it, and there you will find a private airfield and a plane already fueled up and waiting for you. It's all very how important are we? You go straight past any checks. As soon as you get towards the plane, they're clearly waiting for you, and as the three of you board, they reach forward to the pilot, who begins to taxi down the runway. Stored from the van which followed you is a huge army green and divoted up case with massive locks on the outside, and on the interior insulation and the means to store something quietly, even if it were screaming on the inside, and also in a fairly secure way, and also kind of insulated as well, so if there's any temperature changes. There are also valves on the inside so that oxygen can either be allowed to pass in and out, or closed off so that it cannot. That's loaded up in the back along with all of your other gear, and you begin to take off. Yep.
As I might have jumped you here, assuming we don't get shot down or something in the middle of it. I'm going to be, as we pull in towards Quebec, I'm going to be sitting next to Chaz, keep tongue on his shoulder, and trying to point out all the sites that I wanted to see. That's the one. That's the one. And Chaz,
you're
should
muted,
we do not hear what Chaz responds with.
Oh, nothing intelligent. That's all.
His breath is taken
nice.
away. The beauty of Quebec.
I don't know. What's so great about Canada? What do they got that we don't have in the red, white, and blue?
That's actually really interesting. And I go on a long-winded rant that probably puts you to sleep.
You go in for a while, but the one that might wake you up again, Chaz, is that Canada does not have prohibition. They had it very briefly, and by the time that you are landing, it has been all but ended. In Quebec, they had it for less than a year, from what I gather. It was 1919 to 1919, and then they started taking it back away again. So liquor is legal and sold here.
Canada!
And the hotel that you're staying at will have a bar.
Now that
it's très bien.
I still don't quite like him for burning down the White House, though. Chaz doesn't forget that.
He never will. The plane flies over the city and then lands at a local airfield where another very fancy taxi is waiting to pick you up. The person standing out the front has a little a sign saying Federated Oil and Chemical, and as you move towards it, a couple of people swarm down across the plane, unload the large heavy case as well as your other equipment into the back of a van and drive you towards the nearby train station. It's not that far. You could have walked, but everything's being done to be as quickly as possible, as discreet as possible, and as as comfortable as possible. When you arrive at the train station, this has been timed impeccably. Your pilot probably diverted a couple of other planes away so that they could land earlier, and as all of the equipment is loaded up into the back of the one of the carriages and closed shut, the whistle blows and they're calling the last people to enter. The driver reaches into an envelope, passes it over to you, and the three of you are given 3 first-class tickets, which when presented allow you onto the very front of the train, where you have a dining cart and a bunch of comfortable things for what will only be a couple-hour journey. But you are rubbing elbows with some very fancy-looking people, although you guys have your parkas and things. I'm sure Sebastian looks pretty posh himself, but you guys definitely stick out a little bit as basically being kids amongst some very fancy pants people. The train begins to chug out of the station, and soon you're racing along through the Canadian wilderness. Jim.
Is it cold enough that we're going to see some snow, or is that not a thing this time of year?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe
okay,
snow.
cool. I was just thinking in terms of what to expect when we get into Latouk.
I think it snows. I'm saying it snows. I'm sure someone will let me know if it doesn't. Seb?
How many days did we have downtime?
You had 9 days previously, so you can heal 9 hit points.
Amazing.
And you're expected not to stay here for too long. They've told you can have up to a couple of weeks, so basically as quickly as possible in and out is the objective. Because once this is done, basically it'll be go back and kick off the mission once final preparations are made.
Cool. I am good. I'm back to, well, I'm not gonna say hale and hearty because that's a lie.
You're
but
getting warmer.
I am at full hit points. I
Alright,
just am not well for reasons.
The three of you have like sat around a booth, and you're like looking out the window at the racing countryside. A very like a server dressed like a very high collar and tie comes past and says in an outrageous French accent, offering you champagne and things and little nibbles, canapes rather, as they come back and forth, filling your glass and basically being overly present. Whenever you look around, there's a butler within distance, and if you so much as glance at your glass, it will be topped up again. How do you guys spend your journey? Is it comfortable? Do you take advantage of the luxury, or are you more looking ahead and preparing?
I'm making fun of the outrageous French accent that you mentioned.
That's fun.
Excellent.
Well, any outrageous thing. Isn't that great? I feel like the French accent is the only one you can describe as outrageous, and everyone knows what you mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, outrageous any accent. Outrageous Australian I could picture as well. But this guy has a very, very particular one.
We have some requests in chat.
Yeah, I
the
saw that. I'm
outrageous.
ignoring it. I'm not doing the accent.
Oh, but you've done it before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this would be an outrageous French Canadian accent too, which is a whole extra level.
Oh, yeah.
Would be a whole extra level of difficulty. I think I probably start off and be like, oh, this is silly. They're giving us all this champagne. I mean, we can't let it go to waste, though. I mean, a little. It's pretty good, kind of. You know, I partake a little bit. You know, a little red cheeked when we arrive at the other side.
Oh, well, if Katie's partaking, Chaz is absolutely wasted. You'll have to haul him bodily off the train.
Oh dear.
Yeah, 100%. They'll give you little everything's in these tiny little glasses, Chaz, which is a little frustrating because, you know, it's supposed to help you pace yourself. So you get this tiny little glass of champagne and a little small plate with like a single delicately made snacky thing. So by the time you're pulling in, you've got, I imagine, a pile of plates and like loose glasses that you've worked through. Do you want to give me a constitution roll to see how you've handled your liquor?
I thought you'd never ask. Never thought I'd have the chance. Not
You
well.
you are rat-assed. You will take a penalty dice on most tests until you get a chance to basically sleep it off, and you are
But
somewhat
immune
resistant.
to one point of sanity loss.
We might go beyond that, and I think if you want to go to the second level, you could be.
No, I'll keep it with the first level.
Okay,
I think
alright.
just like one train trip. I don't think.
If you
we'll
want
go
to
out.
have drunk a large amount but not want the mechanical penalties, I have something I can offer.
Oh,
Seb speaks French,
Yep.
and these two don't.
what has Seb ordered us?
Oh, Seb's just turned around and said, if you don't mind, this one here, we need the two of them to have good mental, what's the word? Capacity. Could you please water down some of the alcohol you are giving them? They, just a little.
Probably a good idea.
Yes,
So,
That is
just
probably a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is gonna be, if Seb is speaking French, I will put on an accent, and then you know that
love
he's
it.
speaking French.
I also like that since presumably, I mean, Katie hasn't drunk a whole lot, and Chaz is probably used to, you know, some of the less reputable speakeasy swill. So we probably get the watered down booze, like, it tastes like home. kind of thing.
Well, I mean, if Art has managed, if Seb has managed to surreptitiously make that happen, should I have a bonus die on my con roll? Get slightly less drunk.
Yeah, go ahead and take a bonus dice. And this is also from what your perspective is Seb has a quiet word with the waiter and the pours get heavier. They start bringing out bigger glasses, but it's watered down. Like, so it's less so, but it paces you out a while. So it also just looks like Seb's kind of hooked you guys up, which is great. Go ahead and roll once more with the bonus dice.
Never mind.
You are doomed.
You just
I did say, like-
drink faster is the problem.
I do say the idea was like, you can have essentially drunk enough to have gotten to the second level of drunk, you're just not the second level of drunk.
Yeah.
Alright.
You drank a lot. Okay. As you're finishing this up, and as the
Do you want to
waiter
know
has
how
started.
Sebastian deals with
Oh
it?
yeah, 100%. Go for it.
This is entirely normal for Seb. He's not particularly
A weekend
fussed. He
abroad.
he doesn't really drink. Like, it's just, it sits there because he's like, I don't want it right now and I can get this whenever I want. The quiet word to the waiter, like, he just turns around and knows as soon as he turns the waiter will be there. Like, it's not surprising. this is utterly unremarkable for
Completely mundane. And Katie, you're drinking too, right? Yeah. Just not to
Yep.
any
I have a
particular
few.
levels. Okay. As the train begins to pull into Latouk, it continues on from here, but this is just one of the several stops. You see a beautiful, sort of like quite spread out town, surrounded by deep green forests. There's snow on the ground here, and Katie excitedly looks up to the skies. It doesn't look like it's going to snow today, but any one of the passing waiters will inform you that it is predicted to snow tomorrow. So if you're excited about that, it's something to look forward to. The streets are much wider here than they are in America. Plenty of space between roads, and then between every house there's like a fairly thick stand of trees, or like large garden. They have the space here to kind of spread out and make themselves comfortable. You do see that there is a you pull into the railroad station, and there is a train yard further up along, which is where they connect to like paper mills and things. It's a like larger stop, but that's not where you guys end. And as soon as you begin to step off the train and look around, you'll quickly recognize Leon Pascal, the fair-haired lawyer, walking towards you. You are immediately hit by this stench of like really rotting, horrible, like chemically smell. The waiters and things, the people staying on the train, recoil out a bit, and so do the other people disembarking, of which is probably just the three of you and one other guest from further down the track. But the locals don't seem to notice it, and you'll quickly learn that this is just a byproduct of the pulping process they do at the local paper mill, which is the biggest part of the industry here, and the locals just seem to completely disregard it. Your luggage is all hauled off and stored nearby. Mr. Pascal actually directs them to take it towards a waiting car, and he steps forward to greet the three of you, saying, hello, I hope your journey was comfortable enough. We made sure that you had every accommodation that could be afforded on such short notice.
No, it's good to see you, Mr. Pascal, and yes, everything was more than adequate.
Excellent. We've been told in the past that the service in the first card is perfectly comfortable. I'm glad you could make the trip down so quickly.
Perfectly comfortable.
Mr. Dedrick, I see you've enjoyed yourself. That's very good. I hope you're not too far along that you can't enjoy another drink. I was hoping to take you all to the hotel you'll be staying at and head to the bar there where we can discuss things more comfortably.
That sounds perfect. Yes, let's get settled in and we can get to work first thing in the morning.
Seb will look at Pascal and in French specify that Chaz and Katie have both partaken of the available champagne and may need a moment to rest.
Leon responds in French, and he says, it's good to see that they're enjoying themselves. Worry not, there's nothing scheduled for the evening. They can take it at their own pace.
Oh.
He speaks very good French as well. He turns around and in French will direct the driver to take everything away and to begin to prepare the rooms for you at the hotel. But he says, why don't the three of us walk? It's a nice afternoon, and you can begin to get a feel for the town as I show you around the place a little bit.
That sounds good.
I would... How far is the walk?
Not very far at all. We're only going around the block.
That should be... And, Seb trails off, but you can sort of see he's got a bit of hesitation in the doing anything that requires moving a lot.
It's also fairly cold, too. I don't know if that aggravates it or soothes it.
If it's nerve damage, who fucking knows? 50-50.
Up to you.
Sometimes cold is not a problem. Sometimes cold makes my face stop working. So, you know.
It's the way it goes. So Leon begins to lead you down off the station and up towards the hotel, which is not too far. The car has already arrived, and you can see it unloading equipment, which is being taken up towards your rooms to be stored. As you go past, you'll point out the police station. He says, I've had a word with the local detective as well, and though I won't bore you with the details now, we can discuss when we're in private. If you want to have a meeting with him, I can have it arranged. Further up through here, there is the bulk of Latuk. Towards the north, there are the paper mills, and there's also a hardware store which will sell you most mundane equipment, anything that you'll need for your investigation. Now, as I understand it, Mr. McCarthy, you speak French quite practically, but I am here to avail myself. If you have any need for a translator, I am more than happy to oblige. I do have some work to be doing, so otherwise I'll be staying in the hotel. But should you need to bounce ideas off me or want me to function as an extra set of eyes, you need only let me know.
I think we have a first step we'll probably want to take right away. Will be to just go and try and see if we can see the bodies. I mean, that's immediately the first step, right? Confirm everything we can from them. I presume that they're in the custody of a coroner or the police. I don't know how the laws work up here.
It'll be with the police still. As I understand it, the first body, which was discovered some weeks ago, has already been cremated, given it had no next of kin to be given over to. But I have stalled the process of the second, which was due to be cremated, but as I understand it, is still being held. Now, you came quite your arrival was timely. It should still be there for you to inspect if you can speak with a detective. Now, he has been He's been as helpful as he can, but the man does not quite understand our interest in the affairs, and it doesn't do well to pry too closely. Given we are a company, we could be seen to be taking advantage of the situation. So this is something that the three of you, as independent investigators, might be able to get more progress with than I could, if that makes sense.
I was hoping to spin a lie, something about how we're looking for a former employee who's fallen on hard times, and we wanted to see the body to see if it was him.
It's a good thought. We're here now. Let's step inside, and you walk into this like grand old hotel. Not ancient, but it's definitely seen a few years. It's faded a little bit, and this is kind of a side place. Immediately inside, you can see that it's not super posh. They don't get like high-class guests very regularly, and although the entrance is wide, the bar off to the side is also just used by locals and things to hang out with and have a pint. You're given keys. You each have your own room on the upper floors, and Leon is staying nearby as well. And then he walks through the bar with you to a reserved table where he takes off the small scrap of paper with his name on it, folds it over, and sits down. Any food and drink is being covered by the company, and there is a buffer between you and any other table so that you can talk quietly, and he can fill you in on the situation. Is there anything immediately you ask about or you want to do before you dive into a discussion?
I think we're ready to jump right in, although I might say something quickly just on a player note that I thought was kind of interesting. About a year ago, a bit over, Mike Mason, the line editor of Cthulhu, randomly messaged me a couple of French sentences to translate for something, and I never saw them again, didn't make the connection. They were about Latuk. They're not enough for me to get any insight on the scenario, but our characters were on the train, I googled Latuk to try and see, is this a real place or was it created for the scenario, and did a double take. I was like, wait a minute, I've seen this exact Wikipedia page because I looked it up. So there you go. You
saw the Wikipedia page for Latuk in your dreams. Oh, now you're here.
Let's hear that. Awesome. Let's get updated.
Awesome. So elsewhere, a band strikes up, and it's loud enough that no one else can hear your conversation. He leans in and he says, so, as I understood, I sent my information through to Miss Preston, who will have passed it on to you. I first heard through my contacts in the region of the first homeless man who was found with his brain removed, and I was actually in town when the second was discovered. I sent word. It was only a few days ago, and that was what spurred your hurried arrival. We're hoping that if we act now, we can prevent any further agendas or uncover the truth behind what's happening. The two gentlemen that were killed are named Anthony Cornett and Nathan Roche. Anthony Cornett was 3 weeks ago, Nathan Roche only 2 days. Both men were homeless men from the area. They were known to frequent a local young men's, it's the Young Men's Christian Fellowship Center, where they had stayed in the
so
past.
close.
And there is a train yard nearby as well where they have been posted. The detective in charge of everything is a man called Detective Julian DeGamo. He is a competent enough detective, but you can understand that this is not very high on his priority list. Although it is rather grisly turn of events, unfortunately, the homeless people in this region rarely get the attention that they deserve. I would suggest you start there. And if you have any further questions, you can follow up with me. I can arrange meetings, or I can arrange resources as necessary. To get you started, though, he puts over a folder with 500 Canadian dollars in it and passes it to you. I will need someone to sign a receipt for this to show that you got it, but this is yours to spend on your investigation as desired. Your hotel room has already been paid for, your tickets in and out are prepared, and anything else you need only ask.
I would propose we slide the money across to Seb. He has, he is accustomed to dealing with large funds, whereas I think if Katie holds it, she'll kind of.
That's all right. I'll take my third now. That'd be fine. I can keep that safe. Rather hold on to it just in case needed.
So we'll flick through a third, hand it over to Chaz, look to Katie
really?
to say, do you want yours now, or shall I?
I suppose. I guess if we're splitting it up, sure.
Very well. We'll hand a third over, and then we'll pocket the remaining.
Now, remember, Chaz, that the food here is comp, so you don't have to.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. Do you have to tip in Canada?
I will look towards Pascal.
I think it is customary. He would know.
Right.
I'm going to confidently say he goes, yes, it's customary. I don't know if it is. I think it is.
That's fine. I can do that.
You'd afford to break
Sebastian
10% now that it's not your dollar.
Sebastian will sign the receipt of the money.
Leon takes it, and having had a drink with each of you, but not sat down to eat, he says, listen, I have some work to attend to, but I'm only returning to my room. He gives you the number. If you have any more questions, you can feel free to ask, but I encourage you to stay, enjoy the evening, and then begin your investigation tomorrow morning, bright-eyed and fresh-faced. It is due to snow in the evening, but you should have the morning with clear skies to begin looking around. If there's anything else I can do for you, you need only ask.
No, thank you, Mr. Pascal. It's you've been most helpful.
In that case, I'll leave you to your night. I highly recommend the cocktails here. I'm sure you'll enjoy them thoroughly. He steps up, fixes his tie, grabs a briefcase, and heads over to the bar where he pays the tab, tips the waiter, and heads up towards his room. Around you, it's getting later, and more locals are beginning to move in. There's a few people from the paper mills who are in more practical gear, but then there's also locals who are just here for a night out. A couple of folks on dates. They begin to fill up the booths, and people have dinner, drink, and there begins to be some dancing off towards the side corner. Go head up.
Pascal.
Yeah.
What's his demeanor like?
He's very lawyer, He does everything quite practically. He's charming, but it's a veneer in that you don't think he's hostile underneath. You think he just doesn't really... He doesn't know the three of you. He doesn't necessarily dislike you, but he doesn't really care for you at the end of the day. It's kind of like this is a practical thing. That said, would you like to make a psychology roll to get a deeper read?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it.
Go for it. Jim?
Could I make a spot hidden check? I'm trying to eye his hairline. Just checking. Is there a scar?
Make a spot hidden roll. It's going to be hard to get that because he has very, very beautiful coned back hair. It would cover it easily. Nice.
God
okay.
damn, I've rolled well today.
Yeah, dude.
Hard success on the psychology as well.
Actually, no, I said it was fair hair. It's actually probably it's quite pale. You probably could see it. Katie, you do not see a scar. He seems to be still in. If he's been swayed, it may have been through hypnosis or other means, but he has not had his skull open. Or maybe they've only advanced their technology, and now you need to be concerned about everything. Who knows? Seb.
Dave, I'm not over to go on.
Seb, you get a read from him that he is He definitely has like a business face, which he puts on when he's around you, which is fairly charming, but completely in control of most situations. That said, he does seem to genuinely be at your disposal. And finally, beyond all that, though, there is a personal interest in all of this. His brother, Victor Pascal, was the gentleman that found the mineral and since went missing. So you haven't really seen it yet, but you imagine he has a more driven, ruthless side to him underneath the surface and well hidden.
That confirms what I had already suspected about the man, and with that knowledge, Seb is just going to, not in a I don't trust you kind of way, but just is going to keep an eye on what brings that ruthlessness out. Like, if I see it, what does that?
Definitely.
You know.
Okay.
Because, easiest way to persuade someone is to find their button.
Oh, yeah. Jackson?
Yeah, well, that's going on. Not sure what kind of role this is. Chaz would want to know what the beer selection is like.
I would try to think. I would think like credit rating for knowing the value and being able to pick out something with taste. Let's go something else. Yeah. There's a few different selections on tap.
Very good.
Definitely leans more liquor, but there's a whole little suite of different ones. Towards the back, there's a shelf with a number of multicolored things, and with that fail, you're at least able to figure out that the higher up the shelf, the more expensive and presumably better it gets.
Well, now that's good information to have.
And critical.
May Seb also make a credit rating check to see?
Yeah, hell yeah, go for it.
Good idea.
I'm.
You just want to show off to everyone what your credit rating score is.
It's not that high.
99.
Still.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Because again, it's parents' money. Your parents are probably in like 80s or something,
My
but this
parent,
is what you have
Seb
access
is like,
to. Yeah,
because Seb also is not quite inheritance age yet, so he has that. But also, let's see how the business dealings with Abelard goes.
Yeah. So I would imagine that your family has gone up here, and they probably in the past were coming up here to holiday, as you said, partly because it's prohibition and it was a super common thing for Americans to jump the border, have a bevy, and then head home. So your parents, again, the super high class version of that, would come out to like, Quebec or wherever, or journey throughout Canada, fine dining, luxurious drinks, and then head back home. So you recognize some of the bottles and things. When you were younger, I imagine they had the when you're having a drink with dinner, the child can have a tipple as well, just to get a taste for it and to appreciate things. So you've tried
Both
some bits and pieces.
And art, yes.
Yeah, but this is probably the first time that you've been here under your own steam, since being old enough to really value a full night out rather than just drinking with family and things.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have been here with family old enough to have drunk, because we go every year, at least. But yeah.
But always with family. This is the first time you're here under own propulsion. Outside, it's not snowing, but it's cold, and you can see people moving throughout the streets. It's a pleasant area, although there is definitely a homeless presence. A couple people, you can spot one fellow with a thick jacket on, curled up towards moving into a doorway where he's trying to find some comfort from the wind. Inside, it's much warmer though, and soon the fellow moves on, heading elsewhere, possibly seeking shelter at the Christian Fellowship. How does the evening go for the three of you?
I think that maybe you might suggest an evening out. I mean, we've been told that it's a potentially, it's kind of up to us. How do the two of you feel about go dancing?
I think we've earned it. I'll say it. I'm not afraid to say it. I think we've been working hard. We've been, busting our balls here. And we gotta kick back and relax for once. Come on. What could go wrong?
Seb, Mr. McCarthy, what do you think?
Yeah, Mr. McCarthy, what do you think?
I will join you for a drink, most certainly. I'm. I don't think I can dance. I'm sorry.
That's what everyone thinks till they get out there.
Oh,
I
man.
don't mean I can't dance, Chaz. I do know how to dance. I mean, physically, I don't think I can dance.
Damaged
But I-
by the Migo.
Yeah. It. My muscles don't always do what I want them to, still. So, it's an inconvenience.
Well, at least you can still drink. And well, when in Canada,
Cheers to that.
Well, let me get us something nice here, and then if you two, free spirits want to go and find somewhere to dance, I shan't spoil your evening.
I don't think you could if you tried. Let's boogie.
I'll call over the waiter and request one of the nicer bottles of something for us to have, and Seb will have one or two. He is not going overboard, and then at some point when these two decide to go dancing, he will excuse himself, head back to his room, and sit with a glass or two of whatever they were drinking. He'll take some up to his room and go over his notes. And that's Seb's evening. It's very chill.
Chance to debrief, decompress. Yep. For the other two of you, there's not really anywhere else to go in the city, but there is a ballroom here where they have a band playing and people are dancing. It's like a Friday night, so it's kind of kicking off.
yeah.
How you spend the evening?
I think we have an excellent evening of mirth, many drinks, many dances. It's quite lovely, unless you object, Chaz.
No, everything goes horribly wrong.
Oh.
Don't object. It's a good time, and nothing
it's a
goes
good
wrong
time.
because the mythos can't touch us.
Now, I have something to add. I think which would be quite funny. I think as we're sort of winding down, we're getting ready to leave, Katie has a terrible idea, which is as we're sort of heading out of the dance floor, maybe because it's closed or whatever, she looks out towards the outside where it's, still getting a bit blustery and snowy, and maybe she catches sight of somebody else, somebody who needs somewhere to stay, heading towards the Christian Hall for somewhere to sleep. And she kind of says, you think they're just picking up people outside, looking for people that maybe haven't found a place to rest?
I mean, yeah, right? They gotta find people who, no one's gonna be looking for them, and they don't have anywhere else to go, so they're easy pickings, right?
What if we baited a trap, positioned someone outside, and then we were watching and we were ready and we knew they were going to come? We got it that way.
Yeah, it's not bad. I don't know. I think Sebastian would tell you about the moral and ethical implications of using people as bait or whatever, but he's not here.
We don't use someone else. We just go out.
Oh, and we kind of look like we're stumbling around. We're, we're one of the street folks. Is that what you're thinking?
I can mess up your hair and we'll put you in an alley and wrap the coat around you, and then I'll be hiding nearby enough just to look, and when they come, we'll nip in and...
We'll pop them.
Exactly.
I like it. Katie, that's why you're the smart one. I always said that. I always said you're the smart one.
But I don't want to be in the cold, so you have to go out and you be the bait.
Yeah. We're doing this. What do you reckon? We're doing this tonight? See if we can, give little Seb a bit of a surprise, because we got a head start, and he wasn't around to stop us.
I'm filled with a little drunken courage, so I think I tell her and I go, yeah, let's dance, and then grab you and start rushing you outside to find a place to plop you somewhere.
I love it.
Okay. So you muss Chaz's hair up a bit. The jacket you're wearing is super new looking. The bloody, like the Federated Oil and Chemical one, so it doesn't quite fit the story. You kind of look like just like a drunk person who fell down. Is there anything you can do to take this to the next level?
Yeah. Well, I'll lose some articles of clothing, get some dirt rubbed on my face, Make it look like someone who's sleeping rough.
Turn the jacket inside out.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's
A
good.
little bit.
Okay. Can one of you please make a disguise roll with a bonus dice?
The base for disguise is 5.
Yeah,
Here we
well,
go.
Good luck.
First roll, 31. Second roll,
31.
31. Oh, that is a lot of luck to spend on this. What would pushing the roll be?
Leaving Chaz alone for like an hour? No,
Yeah,
doesn't quite work.
yeah, possibly. I reckon pushing the roll is probably lose the jacket, and you're going to be out there in the freezing cold in your in your dress shirt, which out
Unarmored.
here has genuinely like also hypothermia.
Okay, well, we don't want to get you killed. I reckon that
probably
there is a
won't die.
possibility. I reckon that there is a possibility that if you are, I reckon there's a possibility. Oh, yeah.
No,
what
you
were
go,
gonna
you
say?
go.
I was going to say that I don't necessarily think that they're picking up specifically homeless people as much as they're picking up people opportunistically. Like, I think it's just there's people who are out on the street at night, and that is the result. So I think it doesn't really matter if you don't look exactly like you're homeless, as long as you look like you are alone and incapacitated.
All right.
I think that might be the important thing.
Let's give it a try. Yeah. So Chaz will put on an air of not having entirely lost his wits. That's a very cunning ruse. He's going to pretend like he's completely gone to the wind and no faculties whatsoever. That's what he'll do.
Okay.
Yep, great.
So you head down an alley. Katie, where are you posting up? Are you staying in the bar, or are you gonna? Because if he's just across the road, you're on like the main thoroughfare. Like it's not exactly discreet.
We don't have like a balcony in our room that I could use to like be watching from the balcony,
Fuck yeah,
do we?
dude. Hell yeah.
Okay, great.
So you head back into the lift and go up. You have that like long ride in the elevator to possibly go over how good a plan this is. But by the time you get to the top, Chaz is already heading out. You go through your room and push open the window. It's cold out here, and this distant from like a major city, you can see all the stars up above and the dark woods sprawling further along. Your own curtains like out into the outside, and begin to flap around you a little bit as you peer over and begin to pick out Chaz, making his way down an alleyway and further across, small in the distance. Art?
Never was there a story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo.
Out the window. Yeah, I'm going to preempt a blanket tied together rope. So that I can use it to try and climb down if I need to rapidly provide assistance.
Sure. You head back inside and drunkenly begin to start tying sheets together. It would probably be faster to take the elevator or the stairs because there's no one forcing you to be in here. And if you fall, you will eat shit down 6 stories.
Oh, okay. I think I get halfway through the rope and then abandon it. I still ruin the day.
You're drunk. You're like, I got 2 plans now. I can do either in case they lock me in my room for some reason, or in case I can't find the key because again I'm drunk. So you begin to watch as Chaz makes his way through the streets. Chaz, it's cold out here. You've got the jacket pulled on. You're fairly pleasantly buzzed at the moment. You're still thinking over like the evening's events, the dancing and the drinking and all the, all those good times as you walk through the old, like, quite hardened snow now, which has had the day to melt and then refreeze over. As you move down an alleyway, stumbling a little bit and leaning up against a wall to just catch your breath and center yourself, a figure shifts from under one of the eaves, and a homeless man with a newspaper pulled over him looks up at you and goes, "Hey, sleeping rough." Actually, but he says it in French. So he says something to you in French in a fairly growling voice.
See.
He motions up towards you, and the newspaper falls away, and you can see he's got like an old jacket, like fairly modeled together, and steps out. He looks you over and says something again in French.
Yeah. No hablo Franco.
He shakes his head and points at you, pushing a finger. He's got those like the half gloves on, and you can see his nails are blackened underneath it. He has a fairly ratty looking beard, and his eyes are a little bit red as he jams a finger towards you and seems to be pointing back the way you came.
Hey, this is a free country. If I want to walk down this alley, I'm gonna walk down this alley.
Do you want to make a psychology roll with a penalty dice?
Yeah. Oh. I always thought I was going to get it.
You don't know what he's saying. You get the impression he might be after something that you've got. Like he might want money, or he might, you know, because I mean you're fairly well dressed and things. He might be trying to get something off you. You're beginning to think you might be getting cornered.
I think I am still carrying $130. All right. Well, no. Now I'm starting to think I could probably take this guy if I was stone cold sober, but I'm not. So I'll just start backing away.
Back the way you came.
All right. It's your alley. You can have the alley. That's fine.
He follows after you, shaking his head as you leave, gesturing back behind you again and again, and saying something in a language you don't recognize. He's not getting super loud. He's still keeping it kind of quiet, but he seems to be like you know, trying to get your attention and trying to say something, but it just completely, you do not get it. And you're beginning to think like, oh, he's following me now. He's trying to get my stuff.
I'm gonna walk a bit faster.
Okay, you're able to outpace him. He gets towards the corner and then he sees you like step out onto the street and just like waves his hand at you, gesturing you away, but then stands and watches you to see where you go next.
I'm still near the hotel, aren't I? Because
you like went like
this in a place where Katie could look out.
Yeah. From here, you can look up past. There's a row of houses, and you can see up to the balconies. You can just make out Katie standing in one of the windows.
Yeah, I don't think I'm smart enough to try to lose him at this point. I think I'm just going to head into the hotel. Just realize that
he seems to be watching. You could just go around a corner, and you'd have lost him if he doesn't move.
Chaz ain't that smart when he's sober, and now he's not sober. Yeah, he's like Chaz just realized, oh, I'm too drunk to fight very well. This is a terrible idea, and he's going to go home with his tail between his legs. But yeah, he's not smart enough to try to lose the man first.
Okay, all right. He follows you a little bit, like towards the corner, and watches you as you go back towards the hotel. When you step inside, you're met with a wash of like I would say noise, but actually they're closing up. And you sort of like doing that like drunken thing where you just like focus on where you're going. You just walk to the lift and let yourself in. Is there anything further anyone does this evening?
For convenience's sake, I think Katie fell asleep trying to watch Chaz. Like, genuinely did. He's gonna wake up panicked, going, "Oh no!
I hope he's not dead."
Are the three rooms next to each other?
On the same floor. There's possibly like one that they couldn't get perfectly, but yeah, they're very close.
Oh, just whether or not like, because Seb would still be awake reading, whether or not he hears the two of them come in at various.
Chaz trying to get the door.
Goddamn Canadian locks! What do they make them out of?
Seb will stick his head out the door. Chaz?
How do you work these? They don't go in right. Give me a goddamn USA lock.
Dedrick!
I can work that.
Dedrick! Next door.
Oh. Good night.
Closes this door. Good night. Yeah, so we'll go back and just like making the noise stop and then go back. Seth falls asleep in his chair, and then will eventually move himself to his bed if he wakes again. But as per usual, falls asleep reviewing things.
Okay. Chaz and Katie, I presume, sort of sleep where they land. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
And sleep soundly.
Seb will be surprised when the two of them leave from separate doors the following morning.
Oh.
You sleep well, tired from your travels and from your recent experiences. Katie, you're cold in your room. The window is sort of left partly open, and so you like just naturally like bundle yourself up in clothing. Sorry, like sheets and things I'm wearing. And outside, beautiful stars spread out across the forest and the city. Down below, the gentleman who followed Chaz gets as close to the hotel, looks up towards it, and then stumbles back into the alley and finds a place to rest. He doesn't know it, but he's being followed as well. Tomorrow morning, you'll begin your own investigations, and you can see what's going on here in Latouk, Canada, but we'll pick all of that up next session when we continue in a week. Rock and roll.
What a time.
Excellent.
Hot
Great.
dog. All right. Little
I had great fun.
little international voyage. Doesn't feel super international. It's a border
No.
boat, so you know, you got there.
Still counts. They're speaking French.
Yeah, that's true.
counts.
That gives it a level of away from homeness. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys for playing, and thank you everyone so much for watching. We will resume this next week. Friday at 3 p.m. PT, etc. In the meantime, this will go up on the YouTube, and also make sure you check out our newer RuneQuest stream where we're learning to play RuneQuest, and we're tearing around in Johnstown, dealing with trolls and chaos and things like that. That's on Mondays at 3 p.m. and they're both also all on the YouTube, so you can check all of that out there. Thanks all for playing, and thank you everyone for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, everyone.